I can't be a pessimist because I'm alive. To be a pessimist means that you have agreed that human life is an academic matter. So I'm forced to be an optimist. I'm forced to believe that we can survive whatever we must survive. But the Negro in this country, the future of the Negro in this country is precisely as bright or as dark as the future of the country. It is entirely up to the American people and our representatives. It is entirely up to the American people whether or not they're going to face and deal with and embrace this stranger whom they've maligned so long. What white people have to do is try to find out in their own hearts why it was necessary to have a nigger in the first place. Because I'm not a nigger, I'm a man. But if you think I'm a nigger, it means you need it. The question you've got to ask yourself, the white population of this country's got to ask itself, North and South, because it's one country, and for a Negro, there is no difference in the North and the South. There's just a difference in the way they castrate you. But the fact of the castration is the American fact. If I'm not the nigger here, and you invented him, you, the white people, invented him, then you got to find out why.
I cannot be a pessimist because I am alive. No truer words may have ever been spoken in reference to the necessity of moral optimism when being an activist in the social justice movement. It is the hardest thing in the world to be a progressive because you are assaulted on all sides. You are condemned, feared, and marginalized by liberals who think you want progress too quickly, conservatives who think that progress is not necessary, that the status quo is a perfectly acceptable power distribution, and worst of all, our mortal enemy, or politically diametrically opposed philosophy, is regressivism. And the latest version of regression, political regression, is the alt-right. The alt-right is a restoration movement, and historically, all fascist political movements have been restoration movements. Mussolini himself used the fasces, the bundle of sticks with an axe head on it. That was the iconography of the Roman Empire to manipulate post-World War I Italy into believing that fascism was the path to restoring the Roman Empire. This modern version of the alt-right, you'll find, is obsessed with Odinism. One of the Canadian alt-right Nazi gangs is called the Sons of Odin. You'll find that Sargon of Akkad follows this. On his second channel, I think it is, he follows this squatting Slav. And this squatting Slav, go check out the channel of Squatting Slav. Squatting Slav documents the victories of the Sons of Odin against the anti-fascists in Canada, in terms of the political gang wars that are breaking out over there. So it is so difficult to be the object of contempt and condemnation. I used I used a clip of James Baldwin at the beginning of this video because I think a lot of people, just like Martin Luther King, I think with this renaissance of appreciation for James Baldwin, I think people forget that he was incredibly unpopular during his lifetime, at least during the peak of his activism in the 1960s. He had very few supporters. He challenged a lot of the existing order. He challenged white liberals. He challenged white conservatives. He challenged labor unions. He challenged all these groups that are ostensibly left-wing groups. The hardest position to take on the political spectrum is the position for change. Human beings don't like change. Human beings don't like being moved from comfort. That is scary. The future is scary. Having to contemplate where your political fortunes are going to end up in the future is scary. There are some people who are oppressed, but they're getting by. And they don't want you to agitate because maybe they've got 40 hours a week. Maybe they have, an apartment that is, they might be check to check, but they're surviving, and they fear that if you upset the apple cart, then you're going to derail them as well. And you may wonder, as a progressive, you're going to end up wondering why you don't have more allies. And it is going to be almost directly correlated to the fact that people would rather the devil they know. You know what I mean? They don't want to gamble on doing better naturally. Any sort of depressed, marginalized group of people is going to be naturally pessimistic. The society has been unfair. Society has taught them that they are going to lose, that they were born to lose. So, I kind of wanted to make this video just to kind of talk about the necessity of optimism in the face of bleak odds and massive opposition and constant vilification and setback after setback after setback. Cornel West has a good little soundbite that I lean on in times of stress when I feel like giving up on the struggle and just accepting survival. He talked about the inadequacy of having hope. He's mentioned that it's important to be a hope, to be an agent of hope. It's not good enough to have hope. That won't get you through the day. That won't fuel you through the hard times of political struggle. You have to be the person who creates hope for yourself and for the people around you. That's the importance of community. That's why I don't think progressives should try to push forward without trying to form a community around our issues, because a lot of being a progressive is about getting your ass kicked. It's about going out there and pressing for change, and the world kicking you in the teeth because they just want to go about and understandably, the average person is just trying to go about their daily routines and survive and maintain the little bit of comfort they have. But whether it's economic justice or social justice, is particularly if you are James Baldwin had a lot of intersections. He was a gay man. He was a black man. He grew up in poverty. I remember Kat Black mentioning in a video recently about how many intersections she had, and how having so many intersections doesn't make it optional. It does. It being in the struggle when you have a bunch of intersections, like being a person of color, being LGBT plus, being poor, being marginalized in so many different ways. You can't tap out like Lacey Green did. You can't take your seat of privilege within the existing order, and maybe you're underneath a white man as a white woman, but you're still above like all these other groups. Lacey Green can give up the push, or she doesn't have to push so hard to maintain her position of privilege as a well-to-do white woman with feminist leaning. She'll be fine. You know what I mean? This is why you can see Chelsea Clinton and Ivanka Trump, gallivanting around in spite of supposed political differences between them, is that in terms of class and in terms of privilege, the liberals and the conservatives both have a place in the existing order. They both have an ensured position, and maybe it's hierarchical, and maybe they're not at the top of that hierarchy, but liberals are not exempted from surviving in the existing order. The struggle for social justice is a struggle for the right to exist outside of the norm. It's so incrementalist, and there are so many rebukes. There are so many times that you have to get shattered and pick up the pieces and push and push and push against the existing order. And it happens so quickly. Look at Blair White. Look at Blair White. Blair White is a white trans woman. And the only reason she has any rights whatsoever is because of 3 or 4 decades of other trans women pushing for society to be more progressive on gender and on trans issues. And now that she has achieved some form of equality or a position of adequacy in the existing order, all of a sudden progressivism is cancer. Progressivism is no longer necessary. Being a progressive is so fucking thankless. Because once you're done getting people a better position in the existing order, that a lot of those people, it's like these gay men who support Trump. They wouldn't have supported Trump 20 years ago because they couldn't live out in the open because of the Republican Party. 30 years ago, you had gay men being left to die on the steps of the Capitol building by the Republican Party. But the log cabin Republicans are a product of openly gay men making enough progress in society that they can be conservative. To me, progressive values are not about closing the door behind you once you've made advancements for your pet issue. That is to me a despicable act. To say, even looking at economic stuff, there was a moment in this country where labor unions could have pushed further out during the New Deal for universal single payer health care and government, a stronger social safety net for everyone. And right after the New Deal, there was like a slow softening of a certain wings of labor unionism in this country, from fighting for the rights of workers to fighting for the rights of labor workers. That's my concern with narrowing progressivism that keeps on getting smaller and smaller. The more people make progress, the more people jump ship to liberalism or conservatism. But usually those are people that have the choice. If you even just compare Blair White and Cat Black, where white trans women are in our society and where black trans women are in our society are radically different. Radically different. The whatever marginalized group gets accepted into the mainstream, usually it's going to be someone that has some kind of connection to an already privileged group. So when it came to feminism, white women got, included in affirmative action. You know what I mean? They were the first feminists that were let in through the front door. When that movement, which I mean, there's a lot of black women that were vanguard feminists for decades, and they did not get let in the front door the way that a Gloria Steinem would, for example. Which is not to say, again, that somehow that white women didn't deserve the progress that they made. But my concern is that, when it comes to gay rights, gay white men get a position of privilege over non-white gay men. Gay trans people get a position of privilege over non-white trans people. You know what I mean? It's that existing branch to privilege that kind of gives them the option of, oh well, I got my acceptance for this little thing, this little quirk that was keeping me out of my seat of privilege within the white power structure. Fuck everybody behind me. When you don't have a choice but to go on inside of the struggle, you got to make your own hope every single day. Because to surrender is to die.